Okay, awesome. Well, here we are. All right. Eden here with spiritual boom, gently moving you into seeing and being more. I'm going to read my notes for just a second because there are a couple things I wanted to note. I saw a pride statement on a pool floaty at a store that I was in just a day ago that basically says love is love. And y'all have probably seen that. So I want to broaden that by saying love is. And then for Black Lives Matter, I want to say all lives matter, and that all of this to bring us together, which is one of the reasons I have Joe here today. And we'll get to him in just a second. Oh, and moving away from being gentle, I have kind of stopped that, knowing we had Saul last week, and now we're going to have Joe. And Joe, please, if I messed your Rosita.
Rosati.
Rosati.
That's okay. I know it looks simple, but it's spelled so many different ways. And
I know. Okay, so we're recording this video. We're doing audio as well. So Joe, and I want you to add to this. He's a big truthy. We just met yesterday, so talked on the phone 30 minutes before this. He's an indie singer, a songwriter, an actor, and he has a great voice for all of this, which we'll hear more in just a moment. He's in right now, Tacoma, Washington, correct?
Correct.
Okay. He is also the host, among many other things, of the Reflection Pool and TruthStream podcasts. All right, Joe, add to that, please. If there is
well, that was a great intro. I think we can let the rest of it kind of unfold. I've had the opportunity to bring many guests to the Nicholas Vignamin show, so I assist in procuring guests for him, and he's over in the UK, and he's at nickv.tv. And, I'll give you many links later, but I think this show is to help people understand that it's not only, what you and I are saying, but this is back, what the topics that we're going to be going into are backed up by many, many truthers in the world. And we're all fighting for a better world. We're fighting for children. We're fighting for humanity, and being in this fire, being in this pit, if you will, it has been a challenge, but it's worth it, because I know that people are going to, whether they see it now, whether they see it sooner or later, that they're going to see that that's what motivates us, that's why we're here. And they may not understand things that we talk about at first, but eventually they will. And we're here for them as the Great Awakening unfolds and they understand more of what's going on. So that's why we're here.
Right. And I can't not do this. Like, I'm just sitting in my house right now, but yet every week I'm like, do I keep moving forward with this? And I get, yes, it's like I have to speak what is real, not only with my work, but I just have to, like, it's just boiling inside. It just has to come out. Is that the same for you?
Oh yeah. I've been very vocal. And I think part of that comes from, let's get into part of my awakening. I think that's something that,
yes, because that would be my first question.
Yeah. Well, first of all, was 911. And, as people will learn that planes can't bring down buildings. And another thing that might be challenging to learn is, were those truly planes or were those holograms? Okay. So that's another topic to look into. That's another part of what's unfolding here. There were many explosives planted in the weeks and months prior to that happening. There's also many firefighters and first responders that had heard explosions. And there's a film that I would recommend, and we'll get the link below on that one. I might have it backwards, but it's either Scientists for Truth 911 or Scientists for 911 Truth. And you got to be careful posting some of these things, because they may not allow you to. So it's working around the censorship is a lot of what we have to do. And so, time goes on. And another part of my awakening process was personal. I'm a kid that built a skateboard ramp, and that part of it was great. But where the awakening part came in is, I went around and got all the okay from the neighbors, but reality is different. So what happened was, they did say okay, but then they wanted to have a decibel reading done. And what happened and why I had to tear the ramp down eventually. Now, obviously, this was years. This is when I was a kid, 16, 17. But they submitted the decibel reading that was at the ramp as the one that was at the neighbor's yard. And so it was much louder. So I kind of saw how they manipulated that to make it work so they could just quell this and not have to deal with the ramp anymore. So that was another little awakening moment as to how is this information being handled? Who's doing this and what's being done with it? Another was my father was.
So the decibel level, was there music being played?
No, it was just the sound of the rumble and rattle of the ramp itself.
Oh, way. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So, and I get it. It sounded loud, but as kids, and we even said, look, if we just like between, 4 and 6 p.m., is there just, because you guys already said yes, and we understand you don't want it late at night, but by then the ball was already rolling, or the wheel, I guess, was already rolling. Right. And so I couldn't really stop that. They already rattled the nest, if you will. And so that was kind of an aha moment. And then moving on, and this was around the same time, my dad was a pharmacist, and he had a big piece of land in the Tacoma Hilltop area. And he trusted 6 doctors to utilize that land, which he owned. He was then 1/7 owner in this, this big fancy medical building. So he doesn't own the land anymore, but now he was part of the owner's 1/7 of this professional center.
Right.
And what the unfortunate part was, he in a nutshell, he basically ended up having to sell his 1/7 share to pay off taxes and penalties and all this stuff he got really bad advice on. And my dad was never the same after that. And you can imagine that crushed him, because he really trusted the doctors. And I don't know if it'll ever be fully known if they were vindictive from the start. I don't believe that was the case. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, he put his trust in those 10 doctors, or those 6 doctors. And then the IRS 2 years later is coming to our house to take our house away. And luckily, that didn't happen, because he was able to navigate around that.
So none of the other doctors stood up for anything or took portions of it, or it was all like put on him, his responsibility?
Well, it was that he, in order to pay the bills that he incurred, the only collateral he really had was his 1/7 ownership in that. So he basically had to sell that to the doctors. So now the doctors, basically they now the 6 of them owned everything, and he's asked out of the deal, and it was his land to start with.
Yeah.
So that was a real wake up call. And he's like, what was I supposed to do? They were doctors. I trusted them.
Right.
Let's keep going. And it was like, okay. So that was 2000, or that was 1990, late 90s, or late 80s rather, late 80s. Mm-hmm. I was in high school. So let's flash forward to 2011. He ended up getting bought out by Safeway and becoming the head pharmacist for them in like 2001 or so. So he ended up being the pharmacist still in the building that he had formerly owned for about 12 years. And you can imagine going into that. And it used to be, let's say it was 6,000 square feet. Well, now it was about maybe 1,500 square feet. So everything was, I can't imagine. And my mom said at one point, and he almost wanted to do something to himself, but he didn't. You know what I'm talking about. Like, he didn't really have the will to keep going. And but he had 6 kids, and so 5 at the time. So anytime I think life gets hard, he had it way tougher than I did, right? So he's been a huge role model for me. And also my grandfather, with my name, Joe Rosati, came over here at age 12 and went through Ellis Island and started a whole new life. So as challenging as these times get, like, they've been through a lot more challenges than us, than me at least. Everybody has their battles, but I can't imagine going, being 12, going over from Italy on, right. And then my grandfather worked his way up to running a rail yard and being in charge of 60 men in the Auburn Stampede Pass area. So I come from a line of fighters and entrepreneurs. And so flash forward to 2011, my dad was then given the choice to either leave Safeway, walk away, or get fired.
Oh,
why? Because he paid the $2 copay for people that couldn't afford their drugs. So for him making sure that they didn't die or get sick, he got fired. So that was another red flag wake up call for me. Like, how this world is not designed for giving people all that, that much in some ways. I mean, and I know that there's examples that probably counter that, but when it's your own father, it leaves an impact.
Yeah. And didn't you tell me he passed away like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To congestive heart failure. But of course, they tried to slap the COVID label on that. And they did. There was nothing we could do about it. And then through FEMA, the only thing we got out of it was FEMA somehow giving a check for having had that on and everything's just so twisted. It's so twisted. So thank you for allowing us to put COVID on your dad's certificate, and the hospital making whatever 30 grand, but here's your little thank you for that. Yeah.
Right. Oh,
keep their numbers up.
Okay.
So that's in a nutshell a big part of how I got here. And then of course the pandemic hit, and then I started being able to start researching, and so that's kind of how I awakened, if you will. And now we'll let you continue the conversation.
Well, I wanted to ask you, when the lockdowns first started, were you wary from the start? Like, what is this? And did you start right away, or just how long did the process take?
I kind of questioned it relatively quickly. I would say I questioned it, I would say within a few days, but really didn't see, it obviously as the weeks went on, I could see like, wow, they're really using this as a tool to manipulate people. And so, yeah, it was a very, very quick process for me for the most part. But yeah. And I'll be honest, the only reason I would wear a mask, because there's a lot of people that wouldn't wear a mask, whatever, that's fine. The masks don't do anything. I read plenty on that.
Oh yeah.
The only reason I did it, I didn't want to walk up to like an 80-year-old woman in a grocery store, or man, didn't matter, and then startle them and then give them a heart attack because they were so freaked out about it. So that's why I did wear the mask at times, because it was out of respect, not for that the mask worked, but for them to not be freaked out and be completely out of it. So that's part of what I did.
Got it. All right. Well, you talked about wanting to show some things. Shall we move right into that in terms of, I was also going to ask you, where would you recommend finding good information? Who do you trust? Shall we move into that, or do you want to do something?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with, another part of the awakening process for me was when I don't know what led me to it, but there was this video, and you and I talked a little bit about this yesterday, that I found about Native American women being trafficked.
Yes.
Right. And so I found it really odd that the authorities that were not on the reservation could not do anything because the women were missing from the reservation. But since the women were no longer on the reservation, the authorities on the reservation couldn't do anything. And I was just like, that's really, really weird. And for some reason it popped in my head like, how convenient that they can just forget about these women missing, or there's no way to find them now. And that led to a lot of my research. And so when I first started that awakening process, after the lockdowns, I stumbled across people like Charlie Ward, and this is this is where we'll start getting to this. Charlie Ward, Melissa Redpill the World, Santa Surfing, X-22 Report, Scott McKay, Michael Jaco, a lot of patriots like that. And there's been a lot of infighting and stuff within this, but I think what's important is I don't listen to the same show all the time. I kind of bounce back and forth between different shows to kind of see if the information is adding up. Because if you just listen to one source,
Right.
that can be skewed. And if for some reason that one source is not, it doesn't have the true best interest of us in mind,
Right.
they could be, interspersing little things in there to kind of keep you off the true path. So I definitely split up who I listen to. But yeah, we can definitely share the screen. And
Okay,
then
let me ask you,
yeah.
how's your family about everything?
Well, I had to fight like hell for my mom to not get the inoculation. And
Okay.
they finally see that I mean, they accept a lot more now. Let's put it that way. She's now welcome to go to her book club. She's now welcome to go around her grandkids and all that stuff. But I don't know if they'll fully ever grasp like how hard it was on us. They might just think, oh, well, now that COVID's over, yeah, come. And it's like, well, wait. You guys were the ones that were, really wanting or almost demanding that we get the inoculation. And there was a family member, and my mom wasn't really allowed around the newborn until she got that. And I had to fight like hell for that. And my mom did say that, had I not stood up for that more than likely she would have got it. And, she was very afraid of blood clots. So if I get anything out of all of the crap I've been through the last 2 years, just my mom not getting the jab, it's all worth it. It's fine, no matter what else happens. And like I said, I told you yesterday, I've never been more spiritual than I am now. And I'm a sail and our creator's the wind, and I just go with the flow. And I could tell that that's how you are. And I resonated with that right away. And that's why I said yes immediately to being on your show. It's just, I'm kind of guided to just do things like that. So
Thank you. And in terms of your siblings, were any of them in your pocket, or not in your pocket, but did any of them agree with you, or was it just like,
one?
Yeah. Yeah, I can completely agree. Like I look at all of my family and there's just one person that, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have family across, overseas in the New Zealand, Australia area.
No way.
Yeah. And they can't see it. And, some of them were really, really rude to us that did not get the inoculation. Oh, I have a cousin as well. And he and his, the mother of he and his not wife yet, but I don't know if they're getting married. I don't think they think that's that important, but they have a child together and they didn't get it either. So some extended family really stood up for not getting the jab. So yeah. But yeah, some of the backlash that I got, it's just like, it really showed people's true colors in how okay they felt in treating family like garbage, really. And I know it was out of fear. I get that, but still it's really kind of unacceptable, frankly.
Yes. And then I stay away from mainstream media, but every once in a while I see clips of how they basically said the unvaccinated are, they're horrible people. And, and I stayed away from that. But when I see it, I'm like, no wonder people felt that they could just come to you and call you these names. And that's really interesting as well. Like people who are standing up and calm, they get so much backlash. Yet part of our job is, I'm not going to backlash back at you. I'm going to be calm. Right. Because again, this is all about unity. This is all about, so there was a client of mine, for example, that basically found out things about me. And she'd been in some of my group classes for several years. And basically she started texting me, would not stop. Like, you are not who, you say you are, who I thought you were. And I kept, dropping little things, this is about going from the third dimension to the fourth dimension, that like, this is spiritual. She didn't want to have anything to do with that. So it was just, it's just been, you're right. True colors, just really seeing how people can be, and just continuously rising above. And it's not even rising above, but it's like being neutral with all of this. Like for some things I was hurt initially, but just to keep moving on and to keep feeling like, I don't know about you, Joe, but I have gained so much strength within myself through all of this. Things that I went into a collegiate meeting where we were all supposed to wear masks, and I was the only one who didn't. And a police officer came in the room. I really expected that police officer to come to me. Didn't happen. And I could just tell everyone looking at me, and I mean, it was uncomfortable, yet I was okay. So it really just pushing yourself, standing up for, and not wearing the mask in that situation. It wasn't just standing up for me. It was standing up for everybody, whether they knew that or not.
Right.
Man.
Right. Yeah, it's been challenging, but I mean, the thing is, we are going through the greatest transition of knowledge and awareness and understanding ever. And you know what? We're alive for that.
Yes, ever. Let's exclamation point that multiple times. Right.
Yeah. And so it's going to be worth it. People love sports, and, you can watch your favorite teams, and, it's kind of like and there's a book that Trump wrote, and Gene Ho, he's one of the gentlemen that I got on Nicholas's show, which was great. I met him at the Clay Clark Reawaken America tour down in Salem. And it's the art of the comeback. The best games are the one where the underdog comes back and wins. And that's who we are. That's, and God's got this. And, I was never one that was, preachy or
right.
talked about this kind of stuff. But, the only way out of this is being, having some guidance from our Creator. And they've really tried to hide him from us and the power within ourselves. And when we realize how powerful we really are, that we're, we are a drop. And I think that's why I have this as well. It's like, it's called reflection pool, but that one drop creates the ripples effect. And that's who we are. We're the drops creating a ripple effect. And we don't know. I mean, I never thought that I would be speaking on the Truth Tour down in LA this weekend with some of the people I've been listening to for the last 2 years. I had no idea.
Yeah. How was that? Like, how many people were in attendance? Because I also want my listeners to know that as Joe and I are talking, there is a huge movement out there. There's a huge number of people that are leading the way through all of this too. So it's, even though we talk about us being kind of the majority or the minority, there is a huge movement that's going on right now, which is fantastic. So how was that? How many people were there? Tell us a little bit more.
Well, so I spoke in Olympia on the 25th, I think, of September. And now I'll go ahead and share the screen so we can start guiding people into
awesome.
What's coming here. Okay, so all right. So what I'm going to do is type in the Truth Tour.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So here's the Truth Tour. If you go to events, well, here it is right here. You can see it started on the 23rd of September in Sacramento, and today is the 18th. So they are now in Lubbock, Texas. Okay. And actually, the woman that I was referring to earlier, Melissa Redpill the World, and we'll get to her shortly. She's actually speaking at the Truth Tour event today in Lubbock, Texas. So awesome. So, and then it culminates at the very bottom, the mega event this coming weekend, the 22nd, 23rd in LA. And so if people, obviously it's too late to go to the event in Texas by the time this airs, but they might want to go to the one in Tucson on Thursday, the 20th, and then the one in LA. So if you go to speakers here, and this is the great thing about this tour, all these people they've got our back. They're all talking about the same thing we are. So people can see it's not just about you and me. So I'm going to go through a little bit of these folks.
Please tell me who Baby Trump is.
So
I love his picture.
Yeah, I just know a little bit about him. Apparently, I still don't exactly know why he was called Baby Trump, but he was dancing at a Trump. I think he was at the January 6th event. At the rally, and somehow he ended up being called Baby Trump, but he was just dancing like no one's watching, yet someone videoed him. And so it's went viral, and he's a speaker. And what's cool is you can click their profile, and there's his speaking dates. Some of them will have more information. Like, so there's a woman I know named Susanna, and she's teamed up with Leanna. I think that's how you say her name.
Okay.
And they're helping people understand a lot about, that we were actually born, not state nationals, but American nationals. And we're under common law. They've hijacked this with maritime law. And so she can help guide people on that. So let me just click and see what it says under her. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There's her website, powerpassionfreedom.com. Says everything. So everything we're talking about, these people back it up, and you can look to them for more information than I can give, because they're more honed in on specifics. I'm just kind of the gateway to help guide people to people that have studied this more than I have. I'm relatively new to a lot of this stuff, but that's okay. I know where my place is, and I'm more of an artist and filmmaker, musician, but I try to learn as much as I can. Right. So
hey,
then
Joe,
you've got.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
So I mentioned before, again, knowing that all my podcasts until this point have been very gentle, just throwing out some little nuggets for people to question.
Yeah.
So, and one of them, I basically said, because my background also, I was very democratic, liberal, and again, everything on the show is not about Republican or Democratic or anything. Yet Trump is, and it's really hard, especially for some women friends that I have, because again, Trump is a sexist. He's just hated by so many people. So I threw out there gently, Trump is good. And I didn't go into any more detail than that. What would you say about that? That's a big question.
Wow. There's many ways I can answer that question. When people find out what Trump has really been up to, it's going to absolutely blow their minds. But here's what I'll try and say. He said something along the lines of the public is no longer going to be informed of what our military is up to anymore, because there's people like JFK that talked about splintering the CIA into 1,000 pieces. There's people like Martin Luther King that were, saying everything that he talked about. And the riveting speeches from both of those gentlemen. Well, how did they end up from doing those? They didn't live much longer, right?
They did not, right.
Everything going on, let's put it this way, for the last 6 years, has been a covert operation to take down a satanic cabal. And Trump is he was put in place by the military to do what he's doing. And he comes across as a hard ass. And you can't believe everything that you see on TV. And maybe there were things that Trump had said in his life that people don't agree with. But now you got to be forgiving. Now what he's doing, he's fighting for humanity, and he's navigating probably the most challenging minefield of media backlash and lies that any human being has ever. Then you look at Jesus Christ, right? So Jesus
Good analogy.
Was doing it, but he didn't have the mainstream media and the mind control of the whole world focused on him. So Trump's doing something pretty. I can't wait for people to know the truth about what that man has done. And also there is a video called The Great Awakening. It's from Bonfire Guy. And I'll share that link as well. And they can learn what Trump was truly doing 5 years ago, taking down these pieces of garbage. So I have no problem helping educate and guide people on where to look for that information. So
good.
Absolutely.
And I haven't really even gone into the elite or the cabal yet. So, hey, whoever's listening today, come on, let's do it all, because so much of what we believe, terrorists or whatever, pretty much all of it, the Titanic and all, it was an inside job. So when you start to discover those things, and I remember, when I first started realizing all of this, there's a part that's really, you feel hurt, you feel taken advantage of, because I was pregnant when 9/11 happened, and I was sitting there, with my child in my belly going, who am I bringing into the world? And now I sit there and go, we did this to ourselves, or, it's just, so let me go ahead and ask you this, Joe, because I was going to ask you this later, but this is a perfect time.
Please. Yeah.
obviously recommend when you start discovering all this stuff, that the key is to stay balanced and to stay peaceful. So my big thing through all of this is meditation and using that as a tool to really calm you through all of this. What would you recommend?
Well, there's a few things. There's Wim Hof breathing, a gentleman named Wim Hof.
Yes, I'm doing a class this Saturday. So I've immersed in cold water before, done that, but yeah, someone encouraged me to go. So yes. So yes.
Yeah. So that's like, I'll finish my showers with, I try to stay in, at least 30 seconds, but a minute or two at the end, because what that does is it really opens up your circulation, and also it helps with, it's funny now, I may actually be able to go into colder water, behind a boat, or later in the season. But yeah, it really helps your nerves and your circulation, and it's amazing what it does, and your immune system. I mean, that's really, because think about this, Eden. When this pandemic, as I'll keep referring to it, happened, they didn't go for how to eat better and what you can do to build your immunity and all that kind of stuff. And when Trump was pushing the whole, they ended up calling it bleach. There's certain UV rays and lights that you can utilize to help with immunity. And so the media, of course, twisted that around. But I mean, that's my point, is they went straight to masks and jabs. And it's like, wait a second, what about building our immunity? There's all kinds of things that we've dealt with in the past. And so this is what's going to be mind-blowing for people. The whole reason that they pushed the COVID narrative was to get people so scared that they would put the inoculations in our bodies. And in doing so, you can go to a website called realnotrare.com, and it shows many, many victims of, the inoculations. And here's the kicker. There were a lot of jabs that were placebo. So not everybody should be freaked out. And that's what I want to let people know, that if they got the inoculations or jabs. I'm trying to stay away from the V word so we can keep this on YouTube. So,
okay.
So that's something that's really important. But yeah, stay the hell away from the boosters. It's really important, because each booster you get, the worse it's going to be. But I've heard primarily in red states, or ones that were labeled red, is that's where a lot of the more nefarious inoculations were just put out to the public. So we're learning all this stuff, but don't freak out. But there's a lot of these people that I'm going to share with you on this truth tour. And even though the truth tour is coming to an ending this weekend, I believe this site's going to be there. They may turn it into Truth Tour 3 down the road. We have no idea. But before that happens, I would write down, I would screenshot, I would get these people's names to make sure you're familiar with that, and then start researching who these people are, because there's some doctors in here that can help any people that may have been inoculated to not have the side effects that were intended to be in our bodies.
Awesome. Okay, please proceed. Excellent.
Okay. So I'm going to go with some of the truthers I'm familiar with, and I'm not going to go into all of them, but I will say this. I believe Winifred Adams, I think she's the woman, it's hard to tell because I have to go through the that I met in Olympia. Here you go. Medical intuitive, master quantum healer, founder of GAMI, Global Association of Medical Intuitive. Are you kidding me? Look who's on this tour. So that's just her. There's Mark Atwood. He's from the UK. I believe it's the UK, but overseas, maybe Ireland. I could be wrong. But anyway, he's over here, and he runs an amazing website. Yeah, lifelong spiritual truth seeker, entrepreneur, author, patriot, free song. I mean, these are the types of people we want to be surrounded with, right? Yeah. Stand-up comic, theater companies. So he uses a lot of his talents. He'll show his short films on there as well. Then there's Denise Bliss Phillips. I am in touch with her. She's someone that is helping make the tour happen, right? Okay, a healer that believes energy work helps relax the body right there. That's what
Right.
right. So,
Yes.
I mean, the list is endless. Carrie Cassidy, she has been a truther for decades. Candy and Kid, they live in Vancouver, Washington. So, I think we're going to do a show with them at some point. And feel free to stop me at any time. I'm just going to go down this. Michael Della Rocca. Well, let me show you a little about Michael Della Rocca. He's the Paisan, right? Well, if we go here to Truth, this is Scott and I. Scott is my buddy, and we created TruthStream. And our first interview was only July 30th of this year.
Whoa, okay.
So we started with Ishmael Perez, and actually he's agreed to speak in LA this weekend. I reached out to him and asked him if he'd want to do it. Awesome. And of course they said yes. And he's an amazing teacher and author. Dylan Lewis Monroe, he created the amazing maps. He just put out a Jasara and Nasara map. So through the website I'm showing you and our podcast, I mean, I'm putting you in touch with some of the main truthers that are out there. If people want help navigating we don't call it cryptocurrency anymore. We call it digital assets. Quantum Brownie, right here, we interviewed him. He runs a site called The Collective on YouTube. Amazing man out of Australia, guides people in the right way, and his team is helping people with the great they wanted to call it the Great Reset anyway. It's Jasara and Nasara. So there's a global currency reset in a way that's coming, that's for the benefit of humanity.
Okay, and I've talked about that.
Yeah, and they are running humanitarian projects. He can help you understand which assets to invest in and who to hook up with in order to learn how to get involved in humanitarian projects. I mean, it's been amazing. And then, oh my gosh, Veda Austin, water researcher. There's a movie. Man. She is, oh my God. There was a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And
yes, I saw that a long time ago.
Yeah. So she springboarded from, remember the scene where they talked about how if you put really positive, loving notes in the water, it will have certain energies to it. And then if you put negative, like the F word and stuff like that, it'll have different. So she's completely expanded on that. Unbelievable what she's done. So that's one of our best interviews. So I highly suggest watching that.
I'm sorry, founder of Screw Big Government.
Yeah. So Lewis, this is Lewis I was getting, he created the Truth Tour.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So we got to interview him. And in this interview, that's where he invited Scott and I to speak in Olympia and to speak in LA.
Nice.
I mean, I probably looked like a kid at Christmas when he asked me that. So, and then, so the gentleman that I was talking about on the Truth Tour page, Michael Della Rocca from Everyday Lives, we interviewed him twice now. So I'll go a little bit further up here and get to, so there's the second interview. We just released that a couple days ago. And so people can learn more about Michael on that podcast. And then there's also Kimberly Reichs down here. I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. Are you familiar with her?
No, but I want to go back to Della Rocca. That was one of the ways that I came to you, because I talk about the Schumann resonance frequency a lot. So he seems really, really cool as well. Okay. Yeah.
And I'm just kind of glossing over these because there's so much information, but at least guide people to where to look.
Yeah.
And then Kimberly Reichs, founder of the Iowa Mama Bears, speaker on the Truth Tour and Reawaken America Tour. She just did a video that went viral. It was her showing up at a school board meeting wearing the same type of outfit that a man wore that was part of a drag show, going to school meetings to get her point across, saying, hey, is this appropriate? And of course they didn't feel it was appropriate, but boy, did she get her point across.
I have not seen that video. That sounds awesome. And part of that too, anytime there's something done to challenge or hurt kids, a part of me is like, oh, you go, because you're going to get mamas who are going to want their kids out of mask, who are not going to, if you want people to stand up and fight, that is the way it's going to happen, whether you know it or not. So do that stuff, even though it's not cool stuff, but that's really what's going to help get people awake and get them angry about things.
Well, that's the thing. People have, there was a show I did about a week ago, and it was talking about, the masculine and feminine energy. And I'll tell you, who've been the real fighters in this Great Awakening? The women.
Mm-hmm.
They've been amazing. And it's like, so they've inspired, us men to get involved, and it's, if you want to change society, piss off the mothers and let them stand up for their kids and get the hell out of the way.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. And I know so many people that have pulled their own kids. So mine aren't in public school anymore. Thank goodness. But I know so many parents that have pulled their kids out of school, and I would be doing the same thing if mine were younger at this point.
Right. Absolutely. So just going down the list. So to the right of Michael is Laura Eisenhower. I believe she's the great granddaughter of the Eisenhower that was president. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's been amazing to be part of this. And I'm speaking with these guys. Yeah. Alan Fountain, if people want to learn about satanic ritual abuse to children, he was part of it. So they can listen to him talk. Right. They can get familiar with Alan. Survival of childhood molestation, 9 to 16. I mean, he's been there. So these people are in the trenches. They're trying to help, they're helping people rather understand that what we're talking about, we're not kidding. This is not a joke. We have not lost our minds. Every one of these people is fighting to help humanity. And, so if they hear you and I talking, well, these guys back it up even more than I can even imagine. So, I mean, you keep going down the list. Gene Ho, he just spoke the other day, I believe in South Carolina. He's also Trump's president. He spoke at the Reawaken America tour. Yeah, I'm familiar with him. I mean, it's unbelievable. Michael Jaco, Tarot by Janine, Mickey Clan, Derek Johnson. If people are familiar with Derek, his video went viral of him talking about everything that's going on behind the scenes with the military, that they work in comms. He's basically helping people understand that, the true military operation that's been going on in our country. And I got to meet him in person as well. And so let me just see if his information is on here. If he has a lot of info.
Okay. So let me add, so for those of you that are listening, this is also going to be on YouTube and Rumble. So if you want to see what we're talking about as well, you can.
Absolutely. And that's a good point. And then, next to Derek is Jason Q. The amount of documents he's studied to share with humanity, how much we've been lied to and the depths of those lies. This guy is a wealth of information. It's been amazing meeting him. It's unbelievable. Wow.
And as you and I talked about, going down the rabbit hole, once you see something, then there's something else and there's something else. It just grows and grows and grows. It's incredible.
Right. It really is. And I'm just seeing where she's going to be there. I think she goes by the Patriot Barbie, Christine Lee, I think, or something along those lines. There's a couple different out there that use Patriot and Barbie. I don't want to get it wrong, but I'll try and figure that out. And then Ethan Lucas, we just interviewed him last night, and he's a musician. He knows the Bible extremely well, and he helps clarify how a lot of information that's been presented to humanity about the Bible has been manipulated and turned around. I mean, the guy he's a wealth of knowledge. There he is, author, musician, naturopath. Yeah. EthanLucas.com. I mean, and we talked a little bit about, Nashville, the music scene, and why he learned how satanic it really is, and that he doesn't want to be a part of that. But this is something that I think was going to be really cool about this paradigm shift that humanity is going through. There's going to be a lot of artists, whether it's writers, researchers, podcast hosts, filmmakers, musicians, that are standing up against what's going on. And there's going to be a whole new renaissance in who these creators,
content.
They're coming onto the scene, and it's cool to be part of that, because, you know, as a filmmaker and musician myself,
Yeah.
I would never get involved in anything that had one iota to do with hurting kids. In fact, opposite, I was an outdoor ed counselor for at-risk youth for a year and a half. And so it's going to be interesting to see this whole new slew of people that come in that are here to, you know, promote the best of humanity, that aren't affiliated with any of that crap.
Right.
And because it's been really hard for me to learn a lot of the artists, filmmakers, musicians that I've looked up to are part of a nefarious entity. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Yes.
Let's just go down the list real quick. Yeah, Judy Mikovits. She's one of the frontline doctors. I got to meet her in person. And then, of course, Wano Saban. There's a book that he wrote called Kid by the Side of the Road. And in fact, that book is the lyric to my song Freedom Now. It's the opening lyric to the song and the music video. And we have a nod to him by the boots are in it. And we'll share the link to that as well.
Nice.
But he's been a big part of the awakening process, and can be controversial at times, but he's dropping a lot of hints for people to understand what's going on. So I definitely recommend learning from him. And so, and then, there's Melissa Redpill down here in the corner. she's speaking probably right now. And then there's Kimberly right over here, Rikes. And hey, well, there I am.
Oh, hello, you.
Yeah, I kind of forgot because it's weird to be like looking at all these folks and then I'm actually talking with
a part
these
of it.
guys. So.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then Denise Stevens. Actually, this is because there's a lot of lovely blonde women, and I haven't seen their pictures before. So Denise is actually the woman that I met in Olympia. So my apologies. So yeah, she has career in pharmaceutical and medical sales. Her husband in a catastrophic ocean accident.
Wow.
And rendered a quadriplegic. So, I mean, we're talking people who have been through a lot that are standing up and fighting for us. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. If you want to learn about our food, Wasim, I believe that's how you say his name. He spoke in Brooklyn with Michael De La Rocca. And he has an amazing podcast and a lot of, I think, Instagram videos that teach people what's really truly in our food and how to read, ingredients, etc. And then finally, the dude down in the corner, Nick Alvear. Well, through Nicholas Vignamin's show and through, procuring guests, I ended up, I watched a lot of Nicholas's shows as well. And Nick is the one who shot my music video, Freedom Now. And he is, hopefully it says, he is a filmmaker, musician who made 48 full-length documentaries in the last year alone. You can read more about it. But he was there on January 6th at the Capitol. The funny thing is, and some may not find it funny, he went in, he felt invited in, and he thought, you know what, I'm going to celebrate. And he lit up a joint. And he was then put on camera and talked to the guy. He had no idea that the gentleman that filmed him was then going to get 6 million views of Nick smoking a doobie they call it the Brotunda now. Okay. What's that?
In the White House, at the Brotunda.
in the rotunda at the Capitol. And I do wonder if he regrets it. I don't think he does, because he went to jail for 45 days and he met amazing connections and it's changed his life. So he doesn't have any regrets about it. But I think, it's in the music video, not him necessarily smoking, but him being in there. And it's kind of thrown people off and the reason I just wanted him to put him being in the Capitol and what went on in the Capitol, to see, firsthand footage of what it was like. These people were invited in, and they could have, been stopped. There was plenty of police there to stop them. Trump I think made a request for 20,000 National Guard, and Pelosi turned that down. So there was a lot going on to allow people into the Capitol.
Yes.
I now know or have talked to about 4 different people that not were necessarily in the Capitol, but were in DC on January 6th. And the information that we're hearing is not what really went on there. I will say that. And I think it's called, you can go to Bloody Hill on BitChute and you can watch that entire documentary from people that were actually there. So I highly recommend Bloody Hill. Yeah, and like you said, I'm gonna have a slew of links for you to put down below.
Well, thank you. And I will go ahead. Like, I haven't stated that I was at January 6th yet, so I feel like this is a good time to come out with that. I wish I had known so much more going in, but the same thing, I went with 2 other people, yoga instructor. And let me add that the folks that Joe is showing right here, it's a diversity of people. It's people from other countries. There's Black and there's white. So again, this unity that I'm talking about, again, there's so much that is trying to divide us right now. And just looking at the screen, so many different people, so many different backgrounds. It's wonderful. And I will say on January 6th, the same thing. We were invited openly to stand on the lawn of the Capitol. So we literally just walked on in because there was a guy and had a megaphone going, "Come on in, come on." And we sat there and we're like, "Oh, what a beautiful day. This is so neat to be here." And then suddenly we went, "Wait, we're on the Capitol grounds. This is probably not good." So we're just like, "Okay, let's go ahead and go right outside." But so again, the fences were down. There was nothing precluding you from going into the Capitol. And then we stood right outside and watched people go in it. And again, all the guards stepped back. It was just one of those things that you're just looking, going, "Whoa, look at that." And then suddenly sirens started going off, and it just became, within seconds, something is going wrong. And we were like, "Okay, it's time for us to go." But yeah, it is not what it looked like. And then there was a couple that came next to me, like a mom and her daughter, that they're shooting off gas. And I was like, "Really?" So I wish I had known to take everything with a grain of salt. I wish I'd taken more videos, because when you're in it, you don't, like, you're looking at it going, "Is this real? How can this be?" And now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it was real." Holy smokes. So anyway.
Yeah. And now I've met yet another person that was there.
Yes. And I've been called a domestic terrorist by my family. So yes, you've met another domestic terrorist. There you go. Domestic terrorist. Come on.
Right. Well, they're calling people who are standing for children and wanting to get involved in their schools domestic terrorists.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
I know. All right.
Yeah. There's going to be a paradigm shift for the rest of humanity to understand, let's say understand rather, right? Because we're not standing under anybody, to understand what it is that really happened. And why we're doing this podcast is so that you can hear from a plethora of really educated, intelligent, soul-searching people that have humanity's best interest without censorship, without all the crap that, I've been banned on Twitter 8 times. My music video was taken down from YouTube at nearly 30,000 views. I can't post in Tacoma Reddit anymore because, for someone found my, they probably reported my post because I, didn't go along with the mainstream narrative on the inoculation or whatever. And once people start seeing, why the censorship is there, they're going to be in for a little bit of an awakening, and then start realizing, we're out here, and this is something, I don't know if I coined this phrase or not, but we're fighting for them while they're fighting for us.
Fighting against us.
No matter what. Yeah. So, and whenever they see it, they see it. But we're here for people to understand. And so are all the people that I just mentioned.
Yes. And let me add on to January 6th too. It was until that moment, it was so peaceful. And there was no, like my dad had said too, were you in the Capitol, you didn't see what happened on there. I'm like, I was there. Do you want me to be in the Capitol? I didn't go into the Capitol, but there was no media anywhere. There was maybe one camera. Everything was incredibly peaceful. And again, there were a lot of Biden Biden signs. But that was really the only thing. And there was, I could smell some pot as well. But it was, again, peaceful and beautiful. And it's portrayed as this insurrection, as this horrible thing. It was not, except
Right.
the part that was made up to look that way.
Yeah. And then, since people were lured in, and that's the biggest
Yes,
thing.
that
It's
too.
like, if they weren't lured in and the gates weren't open,
Right.
they wouldn't have went, and they weren't there to like break in. I mean, so anyway, I definitely recommend watching the Bloody Hill.
Okay.
So let's see, where do we want to go next? Do we want to go into some of the pages that let's see, let's go. Yeah. So here is she's been one of my biggest guides through all of this spiritual. And, she's been on Nicholas Vignomin's show. Her name is Melissa Redpill the World, Freedom Force Battalion. She studied the Bible for 40 years. She breaks everything down and she puts people at ease. She doesn't have any fear porn. So I just want to go just to her latest, just so we could, she breaks down what's going on in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So just so you can hear a little bit, she feels like everybody's auntie or sister. We'll watch a little bit of Melissa.
Yes.
So let me play this. I got to get to her first. Let's see here.
Did they know this was going to happen? Of course. Hang on real quick.
So what it says here, Ukraine has been a stronghold of criminal activity by the Cabal, and it must be rooted out completely. We can't get through this gigantic battle and leave the Ukraine intact. As President Trump has blanked many times before, Russia would have not invaded while he was president.
Mm-hmm.
So she breaks it down because, Ukraine is a big misunderstood story. And what's been going on there, as far as I've learned, is that there's plenty of the tunnels for trafficking children. A lot of my awakening was through Gene Decode. And there's a series called the Underground Wars. And I'll share those with you as well. It's on a YouTube page called Jonathan Siegel. And when I saw the information on the Underground Wars, I was blown away because it's about the deep underground military bases that are all over the country.
And when you see pictures of those, like, it's astounding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's went on under there or down there is absolutely atrocious. And they're under Washington, D.C. That when people are talking about, the guard and the gates around the White House, well, they were dealing with a lot of those issues. What was underneath there was horrific, from my understanding. And then as far as what was under Ukraine, miles and miles of these tunnels, this is what's going to be really hard for people to grasp. They were doing genetic experiments on blending human DNA with animals. I mean, just awful things were going under there. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but yeah, Ukraine needs to be taken down. And what's been really hard for me is to watch all these artists, whether it's U2 or Pink Floyd, and they're standing for Ukraine. And it's like, I get that some of these musicians have made deals and these actors, and they've been blackmailed. And if they don't say what that their handlers, because they do have them, what they're told to say, they can go after their kids, their family, them. They kind of, they have to do whatever way that they've been told to do some of these publicity things, like getting the jab or send money to Ukraine and all this stuff. That's part of the deal that they made for their being famous, and I'm not saying every single one of them, but it's a big part of what goes on in Hollywood and in the entertainment world, whether people know that or not.
Mm-hmm. And let me add to that too, big tunnels under the Playboy Mansion as well. So again, this goes so deep and so everywhere, I guess.
Yeah. It's pretty mind blowing. So Melissa has been a rock for me to understand what's going on. Okay. And I highly recommend learning more about her and her work.
Okay.
Let's see. while I do this, I'm actually going to log out of this profile because so much of the information on BitChute is on my other account. And that being said, I'm going to show people some of the channels that I subscribe to, so that they can look these up. And this is a lot of information. And my advice is find someone that you resonate with, learn a little bit about them and from them, and then transition over at your pace. Because we've been looking at this. I've been looking at this for years. So this is a lot to unleash, but I'm trying to, we don't really have time for the slow wake up anymore.
Right.
This is now, people need to know the truth. We need everybody on board to understand the truth and what's going on, so that we can have that shift in consciousness and move on to the world that our creator intended, instead of this satanic crap that was created for us.
Yeah. And let me add that into my days of being gentle are over, because you're right. It's happening, and it's going to start infiltrating into the mainstream. So to get people kind of prepared for things. And I wanted to add to you, like the fall of the Cabal was one of that really opened my eyes to things. And what she has, like 25 or 23 videos at this point, which talk about 29 that go to Bill Gates, George Soros, to jabs, to actually what is in vaccinations. I mean, it is, and Planned Parenthood and abortion, because my daughter actually asked me too. She's like, Mom, she is, how do I say it? Not on my side, I guess, but it's really not sides. Mom, what do you feel about abortion? I'm like, honey, I do believe it's a woman's choice. Of course, I don't believe in getting an abortion at 9 months or whatever. Yet there's so much more about this than you even know, in terms of even fetal matter and food, and how much things are sold. It's just, there's, again, so much. So it isn't just about, you don't have control over your body anymore. That really has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Why are they allowing abortions at the 9th month? Well, I'll tell you why, because there's human trafficking, and body parts are part of it. So those go for, I can look up a list, but there's prices for parts of children. So, this is the type of stuff that, it's very jarring to hear this if you're not familiar with it. But you know what? Sometimes let's say someone is attacked, right? And you're in a war zone, and you don't want maybe your kid or friend or mom to see certain things. But in order for them to get out alive, you got to step over bodies, and you got to deal with things that you may not have wanted to deal with. Well, that's where we're at. We're in Third World War, and it's a media war, and it's a war for our minds. And that's why you and I are doing what we're doing, because we are not going to let them take our country away, our world away, in everything that we're fighting for. And the people that are veterans have fought for in this country. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do this sitting down. And that's why we're loud, and that's why we're talking, and that's why we're speaking with people like each other that are like-minded, and sharing that there's many other people out there. So we're not the crazy conspiracy theorist guy or woman.
Yes. And this is, like you talk about, a battle for your mind. It's also a battle for your soul. And that's what I'm all about, is, and God and the creator. And it's all, I talked about before. I don't think I told you this. I clean houses. Like, this isn't my main thing, but knowing that also nefarious energy is kind of growing. So I went to this one house. They'd had it cleaned before by these other group of professionals. And what I encountered there was just this energy that I've never felt before. So I had always before then talked about light and dark. And now I'm like, oh no, now I feel comfortable saying evil, because these forces basically showed what they were going to do to my body, like ripping it to shreds. It was just, it was incredibly eye-opening, because even when I see something that looks evil or whatever, I'm always like, oh, I just, I love and appreciate everything, and it changes the dynamic. This wasn't that. Just to add that little twinkle in there. Sure.
No, and I appreciate you sharing it. And I appreciate you stepping forward, and the gloves are now off, and I get to be a part of this, that you're in the fight full on now. You're not, you get to a point where, you're baby stepping, and you're not you in general, but but yeah, I'm like, how much do I want to
little,
put myself out there? Well,
exactly.
when we're fighting for kids and their future, I'm putting myself all the way out there.
Good for you.
Because that's what this is about. The reason I'm vocal is because for children, that for their future, for their world. If you know, this gentleman over here, Anthony Brian Logan, this is why I brought up my subscriptions. He's a Black gentleman who's calling BS on critical race theory.
Yeah.
But who's it gonna sound better from, me or someone who's Black? You got to pick your soldiers in this war.
Yeah.
People need to hear things from certain people. What Kanye is doing lately. And here's the thing, I'll put this out there. I don't know if that's Kanye or if it's CGI or what the hell's going on, but his message is helping awaken people.
Yep.
And I have a friend who's Black, and he's like, this new Kanye, I'm done with that. I'm like, hey, he's talking about the stuff that I was telling you about 2.5 years ago in the Costco parking lot, but you're not going to hear that from me. You might resonate with him now, but I'm not the messenger for certain people, right? It doesn't fly for some people. Over to Amazing Polly. Oh my gosh, the depth of research that she does, unbelievable. Here's her channel. This is from her most recent one. She was really, really active, and then she's taken a step back. But there we go. The Great Reset for Human Genes, Child Trauma Profiteers, Man-Made Climate Change video deleted in 21 minutes. Do people realize that, you know, the whole climate change agenda is to get us to buy into their narrative so that we're okay with them having less people in the world? Like, this is really deep stuff. And she goes into it. I would rather have Amazing Polly tell you about it than me. But if it takes me to turn people on to the Amazing Polly, I'm telling you, she is one of the best researchers on the planet. She is amazing. Polly, if you see this, thank you for all of your work. I want to say that.
And let's put a plug in there. Electric cars and eating insects. All of that is part of this as well.
Yes. Then there's I'll get this gentleman. If people want to learn from someone who's in the military and someone that is in touch with our creator, and we know he goes by the name LT, I probably watch him almost every day that he has an interview. He does such an amazing job. I will say that. About his research and his background. I usually watch him on Rumble. I'll take you guys to my Rumble channel next, but highly recommend LT. And then of course there's Nicholas Vignamin, who I've assisted in procuring guests. So that's been really cool. And so, you know, just a few more. Project Veritas. And I mean, there's so many to learn from, but then I'm gonna bounce over to my Rumble channel so people can see. Oh, I think I actually have. Do I have that pulled up here? Let me just slide this out of the way. Yeah, there we go. So if I go over here, so this is how Rumble works. Rumble is they've recently went public. I learned that from the surfing show. So there was a chance to invest in that. There still is, obviously, but this is my channel, TruthStream with Joe and Scott. TruthStream is one word. If I go, there it is. That's how you find the very top there, TruthStream. And then if you click these three, there we go. These are my subscriptions. And one I really want to share with people,
got it.
Really, really good here, is Scotty Films.
Oh yeah, Scotty's great.
Are you okay? So what he does is he breaks down, because a lot of people aren't understanding of what the 17th letter of the alphabet really is, and he goes into those drops and he sets it to really good music, and he provides amazing intel for people. And you know, there you can see it. There's the song. And what I got to let people know is when I post these, they might be like, oh, great, they're posting a song. No, it's way more than a song. Right. I mean, he's posting amazing intel. So I highly recommend.
His things are usually maxed maybe 14 minutes. Some are 7. So it's a quick fix. It's
a quick update, and he helps you connect the dots. He shows the 17th letter of the alphabet, and you can figure out what that is. Those drops, and then connects it with current events. And, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing the intel he has. And then there's a woman, and here she is, Santa surfing. She is, I'll be honest, there's a lot more ads in it now than there was when it started.
Yeah.
But she has great intel. She's from Hawaii, or lives in Hawaii, and she's been a fighter. She helps animals with the donations that she gets. She's very into community, and I can't say enough about her. She shares her tears and her stories, and for me, no offense, I do fast forward through the ads when I see them because I've seen them a lot. So I would suggest that. And that's the thing, I don't have Scott and I on our truth stream and me on my reflection pool. I don't really have any ads right now. I try to keep it that way because when we're sharing this information with folks, I don't want them in this process to feel like I'm sending them advertisements.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I plan to keep it. And, hopefully, it'd be nice to make some finances from what I do at some point. Cause it's, it doesn't pay as well as the bartending that I used to do. But
yes,
it is what it is. Like this is what we have to do. Right. So,
right. Yeah. So I pay for this, like, this is my time and I don't make anything from it, but yeah, I just feel like this is what I need to be doing. So there you go.
Because we're going to be paid from, I'm already paid from it in the connections that I'm making. I'm going to meet people like you. You can't put a price on that.
Thank you. And dude, we've been talking for like an hour and a half.
No way.
Yeah. Close to that. Yes. Yeah. So I guess.
We can have a part two. I can definitely come back. No problem. Once we get going, there's two more channels I really want to share.
Okay.
Okay, maybe three. So Screw Big Gov. Screw Big Gov is where you can watch the Truth Tour, right? So this is live right now. We're just going to peek. We're going to peek in on what's going on Lubbock, Texas right now.
Neat.
Okay, here we go. There's Derek Johnson.
Oh my gosh. So this is it right now. Live.
This is right now.
Neat.
Look, who just walked by? That was Baby Trump. So he could go on for hours. I just want to show you, where to guide people, what I'm privy to. I'm trying to save people time and like where to look for information. Now they're going to be like, oh my God, I have all the information on where to look. And now I don't have the time to look at all this.
One thing at a time. I would instruct then go with your heart. If there's one link that feels good to you, just start there.
Exactly. Now there's two more that are absolutely mind blowing to me. This is called Q News Patriot.
Okay.
These files on here. If you look at this one, number audio file 18 that came out 2 days ago, his intel is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know where he's getting it, but there's no ads, there's no promotion. He just goes right into it, and that's his channel there. And then there's one more, and I might have to type this one in. This is some of the most mind-blowing information on Rumble. It's called We the People News, 166,000 subscribers, situation update. Her name is Mary, and Mary she goes through these documents. Okay. So I'm going to show you, I won't play it right now, but what's cool, when you go to these, you always got to look in the description to see where the backup is. This is when Mary's reading through this TikTok links in video. If you click this, I believe this is it. You have to download it. It's a document, right?
Okay.
So if you click that, you can go to the document that she's reading. So I'm going to show you a little bit about, I'll bring the audio down here. Okay. This is the document that she's reading. Okay. The thing is, while she's reading it, you can't go to this. I can't click on this link, right?
Right.
That's not going to, it's just going to pause it. Well, down below is the document that has the video on so that you can go to these links. She backs up everything she's talking about.
Right.
So I know that's a mouthful. I know it's a lot of information, but this is a cram course to let people know where to look for more information. And I will stop the screen share. Well, maybe one more thing. Here's my web. Here's my website.
We need to include this. Yes. Perfect ending. Joe, love it.
I kind of forgot. You get in this thing where I forget to talk about my stuff sometimes because I don't know. I want to let people know the information
Right.
and not me be the Joe show. So
I
anyway,
feel
I'll
your
talk about me for a
passion.
little bit.
Okay. Love it.
So this is the hub on where to find my information. I'm at the top now with the little the hand. So the music, the films, interviews I've been on, my Reflection Pool podcast, which is for the Washington State area, Puget Sound, the TruthStream podcast. So that's where to find it. And if you go to music, this is my latest single, Freedom Now. That's the music video.
Sweet.
And here's my Bandcamp page. I'm not going to play the video now, but obviously people are welcome to watch it there.
Okay.
And this is where to find my music. And in a nutshell, that's the quick version of my site. So any questions you have, please feel free to go ahead.
So I would like to end with this, methinks.
Please.
How do you see the world looking? Okay, let me see how to rephrase this. What is the most exciting thing for you in terms of us moving into this new earth, in terms of the ascension, when we are really in it? What is one of the most exciting things for you to even contemplate or to feel?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say it's hard to answer one thing, but I would say the unity that we're going to feel with humanity, the lifting of the veil of all the lies that we've been living under, the release of 6,000 patents that are for humanity that have kept the medical world going, the hospitals, cancer, everything else. When all that goes away, or all that's revealed, and the old world goes away, and we can finally live, because you listen to like the Serenity Prayer, or God's prayer, the Our Father who art in heaven. It says on earth as it is in heaven.
Yes.
So this was created for us to have a wonderful world, and it's been hijacked from us. And you moving from the 3D into 5D and the consciousness awareness level of everything that they've done to repress humanity. And once that's gone, to realize who we are, we're children of God. And I heard this yesterday, we're not children of an animal. We're not children of an insect. We're children of God. So we're made in his image. So we're going to be, versions of him. And for that light to shine out into the world, and what we're going to then know what we're capable of, and the unity that's going to be created is we've never seen it before. So it's going to be unbelievable. Right. The world we're going into is going to be absolutely amazing. But part of that getting there is people waking up to what we've lived through and what we have been doing or subject to. And the sooner that happens, the better, because then we can move on to the new world and the unity that was intended for humanity.
I think that was excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking the time, for sharing all of this stuff. And it was such a pleasure meeting you as well. And I don't know, what else can I say? Big thanks. Should I do my baby Trump dance? I'm not sure what to do. But
well, I applaud you for stepping out and stepping into what the enlightening that you're going to now be sharing with people, because you're coming out of your shell and the gloves are off, and it's time. Yeah. We need more people like you to stand up and share the truth, regardless of people's, whatever they'd say about it. Because here's what's coming for them, for any of the viewers. You may not know what we're talking about. You may not understand it, but the more you look into it, the sooner you're going to realize that it is true. And you're going to, instead of delaying that process, I get on the bus now, get on the train now, because it's happening right now.
I know, because I imagine myself having to learn all of this like within a couple of days. Having the beautiful process of, oh my gosh, this, and then like if I had it all at once, it would have been too much. So, just research, just go into it with an open mind, with an open heart. I mean, all of this is about the heart, and that's where we are getting to, this unity and coming together. All right. Anything else? Are we done here?
No, I think we're good here. I can come back later, but yeah, we're about an hour and something. I usually try, but there's just so much, and why I did that, because there's so much information that I don't want people to have to wait, to find some of this stuff, because there might be one person that I suggested that they resonate with, and if I would have left them out, they wouldn't have had their awakening process. So find who you resonate with, and ride that wave, and welcome to the Great Awakening.
Right. And I'm saying an hour and a half, but you and I talked for probably about 20 minutes before we even hit record. So there you go.
Right.
Yay. Yay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm recording off.
Bye.
See you, people.
Okay. I paused mine.
Okay. How? Okay. Did
you pause yours?
Stop recording.
Yeah.
Pause
just